don't know, it was COVID, like, who knows? It was all together. The history of this was essentially, as Maru said, trying to use knowledge graphs to teach about knowledge graphs. So that's kind of where the origin comes from. And then we started pulling together what would the structure of this curriculum look like. And we sat down and we came and we put together the first edition of what you would call the learning paths. And learning paths have gone through many different iterations, but what we have now are essentially user stories, but for education. So you have a question. I'm a beginner and I want to know what a knowledge graph is. What do I need to learn? What articles do I need to read? What exercises do I need to complete in order to satisfy that particular path of learning? So this is really the core of where it started. And then once you start building these sets of little paths into longer paths, I'm an undergraduate student who wants to gain a basic facility in knowledge graph technologies, right? I want to be employed as a semantic technologist, et cetera. These sorts of things you start building into more and more complex paths with more and more complex tendencies and criteria. And what is that except for a knowledge graph, right? And so this is it. This is the primary motivation. And then as we were digging into this even more, how do you prove that you know this? So this is the certificating aspect that Maru is now working on. And really excited to be here and try and get this to the sort of next level and start getting this from a grassroots open science, open education to something that we can actually use to certify people and go from there. So thank you.
Thank you. So that's part of the synergy between the educate and open knowledge. We want the learning to be open and available and inclusive. We're just trying to create something that's an additional option at the end of that if you wanted something formal as part of your learning. So mission, vision, values. Sorry for the tiny. Mission is to make the power of knowledge graphs accessible and practical for all. I put a little bit over, but our slogan is knowledge graphs for everyone. So is there room for technical people and technical skills? Of course, you'll see that in the survey. But we also want to make sure that we include and we speak to those that don't understand knowledge graphs or didn't know that they were already all around us and they can actually do a better job for us. That's me. I'm the newbie. I'm the pretty that is nothing. So I can speak to that group for sure. Then for the vision, we want to deliver expertly curated content. So we're not creating new content. We want to curate what's out there, both through Educate, through other programs, through your own products or your own experiences where you've built content that is vetted. And we want to use interactive micro-learning experiences. Who here is not busy? Right. So I really want to leverage micro-learning as a way to make sure that you get what you want, when you need it, how you need it. It is a bit of a reach, right? Because knowledge graphs is such a complex topic. However, I think it can be done, and I'll have a prototype. And then our values. Respected by industry, community sourced, fun for beginners, short micro lessons, accessible and inclusive, and that means all the roles, and applicable peer learning. So we want to make sure that you're also engaged with other peers and other people. I'll talk a little bit more about during the survey. So we're going to go to our first activity. If you want to use your laptop rather than your phone, you can just go to slido.com and enter that number. I'm going to say it out loud for the people online if they can't see the slide yet. Do you know if they can see the slide yet?
No. They can't. We're going to put this in the chat for them.
Perfect. Thank you. So that they can participate as well. Or you can use the QR code on your phone. So I'm going to take you one at a time. We'll spend a couple of minutes on each of them. We're going to see your participation on screen in real time. The mission statement It's also included up there to make the power of knowledge graphs accessible and practical for all. How does that resonate for you? Is that something that you can engage with, that you think that there's a need for? Was there an explanation as to what 5 meant? 5?
They're given as stars.
Yeah, oh, thank you, that's right. So 5 stars is excellent, 1 star is like, I don't know. So we have 19 participants right now. Let's give you a little bit more time. Hopefully some of those participants are online as well. We're pretty stable at 26 right now, 28. That's the magical number because that's not as many people that participated in the survey. When we add you, then that's going to double. So that's great because most of you said you had not participated. 31, excellent. So we're doing pretty good. There are some people that are voting the 3 and the 4. Something must be missing from that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the survey and then we can talk about potentially what's missing from that mission. Does that make sense? Okay. For the next one, the vision statement. Deliver expertly curated content within interactive microlearning experiences. Is that resonate with you? Is that something you can engage with? And I realize it's 2 parts, right? Curated, not created, and microlearning, not macro learning, not, 6 months doing coaching. Interesting. Very cool. So we have, last time we got 30, I think, 31. So let's see if we can get it up there. We are 30, 31. How interesting. Okay. This is why I'm doing this. This is like a big, huge, if you're like sales engineering, this is like a big, huge discovery session. So, okay. 50%, interesting. Same thing, let's get to the survey and then we'll go there. Last one. This is a ranking, I believe, that you should get. Which are the top 3 values that matter most to you? So that's fine, you can rank them all if you want, but I want you to at least rank 3 because those are the ones that are going to guide that very first cohort, that very first pilot. Community sourced. Oh, okay. Let's see, you have 2. Oh, that's only 6 people. Okay, got it.
You also cannot. You only get 3.
Oh, I didn't put that limit. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I really did want to get like honed in. Okay. We have 33 people participating. All right. So the ones that bubbled up were respected by industry, fun for beginners. Thank you. Thank you for keeping that one up there. I'm a beginner. And applicable peer learning. I'm not surprised about that. You'll see in the survey as well. Okay. We still got ratings on the others, but. Oh, sorry, there was 1 person participating, so I apologize. I will get all the results from the back end later. Thank you for participating in that activity. Was it tolerable? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Certificate Program survey results. I'm just going to say that I was impressed that even though it was a small group of respondents on the first pass, it was completely representative. Almost every industry on the list had at least 1 person. Almost every role, from data scientist, data engineer to CEO, which was, I thought was interesting. So I thought, hey, it's small, but I think it tells me a story. And that's what we're going to go on. So when we talk about program delivery formats, which is an important part, right? If you don't like the way you're getting your learning, you're not going to finish it. You're not going to stay motivated with it. So there was a strong preference for online and on-demand learning. You notice there is 1 bar completely missing, which is in person. Not a single person in that first set of respondents chose in person, which I thought was surprising. But we're all busy, and so I think we're all kind of better learners on demand on our own. And then a small percentage expressing interest with live engagement, which gets me back to the ranking of peer learning. Did I do that? Oh. It's okay. I know my survey by memory. I don't need the slides. Scheduled cohorts was the actions on it. Do you want me to continue on the front here, or?
Question about if there's evidence from the learning world that cohorts are better, would you?
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Veronika.
No, a question about the scheduled cohorts and people. I can understand why people wouldn't express a preference for that. But if there's like strong evidence from the learning community that cohort-based learning is better in some way, would you like fudge things or adjust to account for that?
So I think the correct answer for that question, thanks Veronika, is that, and thanks Larry, is that I'm a firm believer. I mean, as an education consultant, I'm a firm believer in cohorts for that reason, because it does make for better learning. It allows to schedule and resource all those mentors, all those instructors. So it's more like, convince me not, but I want to hear the audience, right? And so when the first cohort and the second cohort come out, they'll probably say this cohort thing is, you know, why do you say it in English? I don't know. There's a saying about like when something doesn't matter very much. Spanish is my first language, by the way. And when I get really passionate, sometimes the accent comes out. So don't be confused. It's not two personalities, it's just two languages. So when you take that learner audience and put it against the format, you notice that live engagement really is happening with certain roles. And that's the blue. So the knowledge engineers, the first-time users, the data modelers, and the business professionals exploring. Having done programs like this in the past for other audiences and other practices, that makes sense to me, because business professionals want to know what other business professionals are doing. And the data modelers and knowledge engineers really want to learn from each other because it saves you time and it keeps you interested and challenging or challenged. And for the first-time users, we're just darn scared. So it's just better to do it with someone else. So it's like a bit of a body system with the combination of in-person and self-paced. In terms of the types of content, is this a technical program or is this a business case program or something else entirely? What we ended up landing with is mostly technical and business case. To me, that's a story. Basically, you want to learn your technical skills through specific business cases. Interestingly enough, though, there's not that strong of a need for industry specificity. So we can solve for that through the business cases. Yes?
What is the difference between business case and industry specific?
So the business case would be how you solve a problem with knowledge graphs, and the problem is iterative across different industries.
Like enterprise search, for example.
What was that? I can repeat it for the online.
Enterprise search. Enterprise search.
Enterprise search, right. So It's a problem that is iterative regardless of the industry. Industry specific would be only e-commerce people need it.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Content specifically, and this is for the curators especially as well. The industry specificity showed up for business professionals, so that's the red, no, orange it looks like on the screen. Business professionals, first-time users, and knowledge engineers. That makes sense to me because a knowledge engineer is doing industry-specific knowledge. And this is all leading towards the paths when we get there. That's the reason I'm putting this information in front of you, because it'll help your activity during the paths. And then technical skills, which is the yellow, are showing up across all of them with the exception of data scientists, which is solely technical. So I know it's not earth-shattering data, but it is confirming data. It is validating a story. And for education specialists, knowing that story for our learners is super important. Yes?
Were those the only 3 choices that were given for the respondents? Because the reason why I'm asking is because to build knowledge graphs, often it's not a technical problem. It's more like a people problem and a social problem, and thus there are non-technical skills involved.
So we're going to have an opportunity for you to put that into the activity when we get there. I will remember. Aura? Aura. I'm thinking of Atlantis. Okay. So, did this resonate with you? If you haven't already, here's a chance to complete the survey. I want to give you time. I need the data. So, you can use the QR code, go to the survey, and fill it out. And that should only take you about 5 minutes. And I think we have the time for that. We absolutely do. And that gives me a chance to run out and get a bottle of water. So please do not jump on the tables or do anything crazy while the teacher is gone. So hot. No. Really? So awkward.
I'm telling you, you're doing great.
Oh my God. That was planned. I had that in mind. I want it to be authentic. Goodness me. If you have questions about the survey, please feel free to ask them. Catalina, is the person that's like experiencing hybrid at the same time?
Yes, I'm the moderator.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Are they doing okay? Can you ask them if they've been participating in the Slido? And how are you giving them the QR code for the survey?
It's data science.
I just want to make sure I don't have to go back over something. So when you finish a survey, don't go do something else because I'm looking at you bending down. And if you go do something else, then I think you're still not done. Yes.
Confused by the structure of the question. Let's take 5, for instance. Following best describes your primary goal in contributing or participating. I've been doing this and thinking, how would I like to formulate a certificate program? Or what goal would the program have? That's not this question, is it? This question is, what goal do I have for contributing to the program?
Right.
Okay, I've been answering the questions completely wrong. I've been thinking, what are the goals and objectives of the program that I would like to see if we were generating a program? And that's not the, yeah, okay, that's not the, I was in the wrong mindset to answer these questions, okay?
That's fine. It's okay. I'm sure you'll skew all the results.
But I haven't clicked submit yet, so I'll start again.
All right, so it looks like a few people might be done. I don't want to shortchange you. Can I have a hands raised of people that still need time? Okay, so there's a handful of people. I think you can continue. I want to make sure everybody gets the learning path as well. So one of the things that Kogan talked about was the learning personas. And that's a really important part of a learning program. But because there's that synergy between Educate and the certificate program, I kind of stepped away from the personas. I sort of know in general who they are, what they want, based on the survey results, and focused on paths. What are the outcomes of your time being certificated with the content, right? And that's what I call a learning path. I have called, don't get hung up on the names, we can brand them differently. I'm calling them explorer, innovator, strategist, visionary, and champion. And if you ask me how I proposed those, it had to do with all the paperwork I read from the NSF grant, all the conversations I've had with different community members, with Francois, with Thomas, and it seems like this represented pretty much the problems that we're trying to solve and the opportunities we're trying to address with the certificate program. The beginner path lays the groundwork for all the other learning paths. I know that probably 50 to 70% of you would not be interested in an explorer path because you're already in some degree of practicing. But the true beginner, the business person, the person that, like me, that doesn't have any experience would need that exploration, sort of be able to even be conversant with someone that has your experience. The innovator is a path that leads to innovations, expanding the application of using KGs. That's a lot of what I'm hearing through this conference. How do you use KGs in different ways to enhance some other technology or some other use of data? The strategist is a path that leads to the ability of making strategic decisions using KGs. The CIO, the CEO, maybe even the program manager that has a big business problem or societal problem to address, but needs to know enough to put it in the strategy. Who said that? I think it was you, I think you said that in your presentation earlier. One of the projects, one of the themes, yes. Visionary is a path that leads to outstanding problem solving with using KGs. So in my mind, that is not someone that's doing what someone else does, but someone that wants to think about what's been done differently so that they can do something new. So it's a very specific visionary path. I don't see that everybody would want to do it, although many would be inspired to do it. And the champion is a path that leads to understanding the societal impacts of KGs for the public. So I really was inspired by the work that's happening around solving social problems. I spent 5 years at Legal Services Corporation, so I absolutely like stuck on that legal use case in Proto-OKN because it is a very real problem. Really understanding how can we provide better legal services, better support for those people that need it. So those are the learning paths. So focus really on what you would achieve, what the outcome would be. The names, if you like them, great, but we can also name them later. This is my prototype. Who knows about Rice 360? Okay, I expected no one would. That is my sweet spot product. It's Rice 360. So it's part of a suite of instructional design development tools. So I used it to put together what an Explorer badge might look like, or the. Okay, why can't we hear it? I was suspecting it might happen. Is it me? No. Why would I not be hearing sound from the laptop? I can do this for real, but I didn't want to play with the demo gods. Okay, so it's mobile responsive is what's happening here. Once it's developed in this product, and I wanted to put that thought in your mind. Many people learn in a mobile setting. I use storytelling as part of the way to learn. So we used a ride through KG Town to end up in the program headquarters. And these are the objectives that happen in each stop. And micro-learning, 60 to 70 minutes. So it's really just to get you inspired, get you started, and you can dig down into the different parts of the map. I think I'm going to scroll down to courthouse. You can tell I designed it because there's a shopping mall. Hall of Fame. And then you have the embedded content that's been curated, as well as a takeaway from that content. How many of you get super anxious? Maybe it's just me, but how many of you get super anxious when you get a video, you don't know how long it's going to be, and you don't know what it's going to be about? You will never see that happen in my designs. That's the reason I chose to do it. Okay, so then when you go to the end, let me see if I can pause it for a moment. When you go to the end, as I said earlier, the learning is open, the certificate is optional. So at this point, you could take advantage of all that aggregated content that is in that path, but you wouldn't necessarily need to continue to those things that we're going to measure and that we're going to certificate. Oh, here. I really don't need to start this. Let's see. So there are activities associated, if you decide to continue, there are activities associated with each of the stops or modules. Reference materials, of course, this is the opportunity to present products, to present papers, a number of different sources that you might want to dive into. And that's the key to microlearning. what really matters that you need to know for the learning objective, and then everything else is just sort of supporting that, and it's up to you to decide if you want to do it or not. And then let's see where I land. So that's the expectations of the so there's matching, there's sorting, all those interactivities, including gamification, which I was told I had to do. So hopefully you enjoy that as well. And I would have loved to show that happening, but since we don't have sound, it's not quite as fun. Maybe I can get it. So you're supposed to choose the right one, if not the frog sings. And if you choose the right one, you get to the end. And then there's a leaderboard that would be able to keep track of forgot to tell you. I really don't like my narration anyway, so it's okay. But okay. Thank you. I'll go ahead and play it for a minute. You'll hear a rustling of my script in the background. But since I already spoke on an open mic when I was out in the hallway, what do I have to lose? Okay, I'm playing it. I'm not hearing it. Like innovator, visionary, strategist, and champion. Okay, there you go. In this demo, we'll explore how 8 micro lessons can form a single certificate path. The target learners for this prototype are beginners, and the Explorer badge leads to other paths, like innovator, visionary, strategist, and champion. This prototype was developed using RISE 360, and it offers mobile responsiveness inherent in the design. The design uses storytelling, a road trip through KG Town to engage learners as they explore knowledge graphs underway to the Knowledge Graph Learning Program headquarters, where they earn the Explorer badge. Our learners are busy professionals and students, so we've estimated completion times to accommodate their schedules. The dots on the right show course progress. Though we recommend a sequence, learners get access to all micro lessons at once and can complete them in any order. Each micro lesson embedded in the graphic involves a learning objective, expertly curated content, and the key takeaways. When learners reach the Knowledge Graph Learning Program headquarters, their final stop on the journey, they enter the certificate phase of the e-learning program, where optional badge activities are activated. Here, the program outlines its mission, introduces sponsor-branded materials, and provides expertly curated references with detailed content descriptions. It also describes expectations for earning the badge, where to find assistance, and estimated activity completion times. The storyline, objectives, content, and activities will differ for each badge. Explorer is this, visionary, strategist, innovator, and champion will have others. But each learner persona is linked to at least 2 or 3 badges. Each activity in the certificate phase connects to the corresponding microlesson on the road trip infographic. Activities include interactive elements like the matching activity at KG Factory, the sorting activity in the courthouse, with immediate feedback for incorrect answers, and gaming and gamification, just the example here in the KG shopping mall. In the future, we would like to offer asynchronous engagement with instructors for real life projects. And learners are encouraged at the end to join the KGC community and share their final reflections using suggested prompts. After completing all activities, learners can claim their badges via email. Since we don't have a learning management system for delivering and tracking learning paths, the education team handles this process manually, ensuring a smooth and rewarding experience for participants. The pilot cohort is set to launch on September 13th with initial interest from 2 learners and the top 3 hackathon winners. We're still a work in progress, needing curators, instructors, and a learning management system to become fully operational. To experience this prototype in preview mode, contact Maru, M-A-R-U, Willson, W-I-L-L-S-O-N, at education@knowledgegraph.tech. Thank you. That gives you an idea of what beginner explorer path experience might be. Not set in stone, certainly something to think about. All right, so let's go to Slido now, some activity. I don't know if you want to resend the number to the remote people, maybe not. And I am asking you to rank the paths in order. I believe this one were all of them. And the reason I asked for this is because I'd like to know, if we only had a limited source of resources, what should we launch with first? I would like to have the problem that there's way too many people like wanting to contribute and being involved, and we can launch with all 5. But I want to be realistic, and prior experience tells me you're usually better off launching with one first. So this gets you to use your own experience and your own needs as a way of influencing what we launch with. People, 3 people are ranking. Okay, I know it's harder to rank because you have to like drag this stuff, but that's interesting. I was really very much split between Explorer and Champion. I was gonna put money on Champion, but thankfully not Vegas. When 9 people have participated. Good. Are there any questions at this point on the paths or the prototype you saw, anything like that? I want to give Veronika some exercise. Okay. All right, so now we get into where the rubber meets the road. There was one more survey question. You might have come across it, which is how do you want to contribute, right? Like the question that you asked. And one of the things that I noticed is that the majority of people really just want to give time and talent, time and expertise. There weren't as many for scholarships or sponsorships, although there were some. And I've been contacted by a couple of people who are interested in co-branding. So don't know if that's going to happen right away, but I wanted to find out what the interest was out there, take the temperature. So we're looking for talent and expertise and time. The majority of the respondents were there. These are not real times. So you doubled the number of responses. Hopefully nothing changed. But if we have time, I'll open, you know how Google Forms gives you an instant preview, we might be able to see that. So let's explore how we can harness this collective effort to build the program. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going in the wrong direction. That's why that's interesting. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the timeline and what is required to be able to do this. I've separated it into two phases, the build phase, and then the which is between now, we can start immediately in September. I've already had people that have volunteered. There's about 20 some people, but depending on how many we get, that tells us what we can launch. Maybe we can launch 2 instead of 1. So we need curators, graphic designers, and the learning platform that I mentioned earlier. There have been a couple people who have said they're interested in working with the learning platform. I'm not quite sure what that means. But as I said at the very beginning, there isn't any LMS out there that actually does this the way that we want it to be done. So we may have to have an initial test platform versus the one that we actually sort of keep. The second phase is the pilot phase. Whatever we've built gets piloted and implemented for the first year, and that would be between September and November. You heard in the video, we're hoping to have our first cohort of 15 people and at least 1 instructor to do the first cohort between September and November. If you notice, I mentioned earlier I was a Scrum Master. I don't really do Agile with this stuff, but I fell in love with it because it's so helpful to have those iterations and learn from each one of them. So that we've discussed the possibility of having that, you know, MVP 1 and then start working on an MVP 2 for the second and the third cohorts. We're gonna have a blackout during the holidays. So if you're volunteering, we're not gonna eat up your time during the holidays for sure. And here we need the instructors and the mentors. And you're wondering, what are these roles? I have descriptions for you. The curators are looking at vetted content and curating it from a learning perspective, from an education perspective. What level is this? Is this beginner? Is this advanced? I've used a pre-established process in the back that I would be modifying for this program in order to be able to make it consistent and repetitive. So if there's 12 curators and each of them are doing 3 sources, we end up with something that can be implemented. And I'm estimating 3 to 5 hours a week, not every week, right? It's just like when we identify what that content is. And frankly, I'll take any time. I'm used to working with people that do things as collateral duty. So you tell me what you can do, and I'm able to make it happen. Graphics is to develop engaging infographics and illustrations that complement the material. Because we are curating content from different sources and different authors, I gotta create some kind of unified experience for the learners, which is what the prototype was really trying to drive at. There were 8 different sources of material in there, but you had one experience that you will remember as hopefully getting in a sporty car with red leather and going to KG Town. How many of you remember that? Okay, so a few of you remembered. It was red leather. Okay, and that's about 2 to 4 hours a week. Again, not every week, it's just a guesstimate. The platform is assisting in the selection and the evaluation of the learning platform in conjunction, sorry, there's a typo, with the KGC staff. Because the platform will be a KGC platform, but we would like to have the expertise from all the people, especially if we can end up with something that has some kind of knowledge graph, driver in the back end. And I'm just putting that at 1 to 2 hours a week. Instructors, they support the program learners by expanding on the curated material, right? So the material is one-dimensional. Whatever you curate, whatever we put in the path, it's going to be one-dimensional. The instructor is the one that's going to bring that to life for the learners at specific times in the path. So we will be respectful of your time and your other duties so that you can provide that support, answering questions, checking assignments, if there are any in the past, and that sort of thing. So you're focusing on learning engagement and comprehension. Are they understanding and taking away what they need to? And that's about 1 to 2 hours a week after the implementation, the second phase. And then finally, mentors. To ensure, a lot of people think are like, do we really need mentors and instructors? I think so, because the instructor is a subject matter expert that's helping. A mentor is really a buddy, a champion, a person that helps, that the learner can be accountable to by providing support beyond the program. So maybe they finished it and you still have some meetings as a mentor with those students. Estimated time equivalent to the instructors. So it's sort of this 2-person pair for every cohort. So here's the call to action. This is a QR code, another Google form. If you can scan this, you will get a grid that has curators, it has the roles and the paths. And remember, the paths are just labeled the way I presented them today. If you're interested in something right now, you can check it. And if you're not interested or you don't know, you can say, I don't know. If you're not interested, don't participate because I'm going to be calling you. So this is if you're captivated by this opportunity, if you believe in that we should be doing this, then you want to put your name down and check something on there. And part of the reason I did it as a grid is because I want to use the survey to prioritize how I contact people and how I engage them. Is this a place where that conversation we had about, is this something that we should do or not? A story you want to tell?
Yeah, I can at least give my opinion on the certificate program. So I work for a huge consultancy firm. We're like 350,000 people worldwide. So it's a lot of people, and we do see a rapid request for competence in knowledge graphs lately, and that has just exploded for the past 2 or 3 years, and especially after LLMs, as most of you have probably felt yourself also, that the interest in knowledge graphs has exploded. And I can't find people to provide to my clients. So I need to upskill my colleagues because knowledge graph experience doesn't grow on trees. So being able to have this learning path to get a kickstart onto what this is and being able to have that badge, I find at least very much welcome and something we would absolutely have the need of in my consultancy firm. So that's my take on the whole journey. At least somebody else wants to contribute. with their own views or takes on having such a certificate program available? Dean was first.
It's 12 o'clock.
Sorry, that's my.
Good to know.
When we were talking about the various roles, Ben and I were sitting here kibitzing to each other about in the world that we live, the thing that we see the real dearth of is champions. You'll get a champion in some organization who, and I sort of see champion visionary as kind of being someone, because the champion has a vision, and they go, yeah, I want my company to be this new thing in the world, and that's the vision, and then they're out there making it happen. And then if they leave the company, everything falls apart. All things you're talking about, the need for that talent goes away. I've seen exactly that happen. The champion leaves, oh, we've got all these openings. Champion leaves, we don't have any openings. And so to my mind, the thing that was really the most interesting here is the thought that you could train a champion. That is a really interesting idea to me, because these people retire. So I've known a champion who retired, and now all of the people, the talent, are trying to figure out how to stitch together a project because they don't know. That champion knew, and he's retired now. To my mind, that's what's really interesting here. And I have no idea how to train a champion. I think it's an intriguing idea, and that's where I'm seeing that kind of almost comes before even the talent stuff that you're talking about. Do you want to add this?
I absolutely agree with what Dean said. I mean, there's so many organizations that have done this incredible stuff with Knowledge Graph, only to find that the champion moves on, and then there's no sponsorship internally, and funding dries up, and everybody gets poached by other companies. One of the other things in terms of training a champion, just an additional thought, which is that how champions can train other champions. So it's to train the trainer and recruit a movement within an organization. So yeah, I really think that's so important to be able to drive the demand for this and for all of the skills that everybody's so passionate about here. Thanks.
I agree with what you guys said, and there's a lot of what you said that I agree with. I looked at the same problem, but from the other perspective. I'm myself being kind of a champion in my organization of knowledge graphs and stuff. Constantly am butting up against people that are skeptical, largely because I don't think they get it. I think knowledge graphs are an intuitive concept to get at the beginning, like to understand roughly what it does, but to understand the power and whether it's a solution to real organizational problems is a different thing. And I think you mentioned at the beginning, like a real beginner, you can't even be conversant in it. And I think that an explorer kind of pathway would be very critical in making it easier for people to trust the expertise that they have in the organization, and invest and buy into knowledge graphs and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I wanted to say a few words about something we haven't discussed much today, but we're planning to do, and that hopefully will also give some interest for some of us to contribute, which is we want the learning process to be based on a knowledge graph. So learn about knowledge graph and having all the learning platform, the representation of modules, learning and topics, everything to be founded on the basis of a knowledge graph. So that's also our goal with that. This program, we're doing that thank you to the National Science Foundation, which is funding this program. And we're doing that as part of the Educate project. If some of you were there in the previous workshop, you've seen Kogan presenting what we're doing there. And so all the technical work about designing that knowledge graph called KGC is being done as part of this project as well. So if you are interested, it's also a good way to contribute.
That's awesome. And you know what? Fun fact, me and Ivo's Shackle Wiki is a knowledge graph. So you can reuse that like out of the box.
Thank you for that. I have a couple more activities. Yeah, questions? Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Katerina, I want to ask you a question.
Maybe because my settings changed for the video.
Can you read it?
Do you want me to wait or do you want me to move on?
I'll go back to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to answer the questions from the remote people. It's just, oh, what happened? You don't get to go 20 minutes early. There was a, this Slido, the brainstorming one. Yeah, let's do that here. So in your Slido, you should have a tab. You've been doing polls, right? But then there's a tab that's called Ideas. And I'm sorry? Do you see it? Okay, do you see all the ideas or only one? You see all of them?
No, not.
Empty, okay, because I need to go activate it. So this is where I want to go. Slido. This is beta for them, so hopefully it still works. Okay, so we're gonna take it one idea at a time. I'm gonna turn on the Explorer first, and the idea is for you to type in anything that you think should be in that path, thoughts that you may have about it, like what you shared on the mic. Maybe some people had those kinds of thoughts, but didn't share them up on the mic. And the reason I'm using Slido is because you can thumb up each other's ideas. So I'm gonna spend a minute or two on each of them so we can have a record of where everybody's thought process is on each of the paths. So imagine this being, you know, your sticky exercise where you break up into groups and you put stickies on the walls, except we're doing them digitally. Should be active now. Okay, so it's free form. You type whatever you think based on what you said, what you saw and what you heard. And I'll leave it up for a couple minutes.
Can you put the QR code back up?
Yes, I'm gonna try to do both things. I try to chew gum and, okay, so if I show this one, you should see it. Let's see, there's the code. Huh?
It's not under polls.
No, it's on the idea. So they're two tabs next to each other. And then I'm hopefully going to be able to show, they'll be anonymous, right? But you'll be able to upvote each other's, and I should be able to show them on the screen. Let's see if I can actually. There you go. Excellent, we have 18 people in there, I love it. Oh, we had a few more people join. Awesome. It's been up for a couple minutes. Okay. Let's see. I'll go to the next one. Are you all ready for the next one? Okay. Oh, sure. If it's you, Francois, of course.
But we can, even if you open the next one, we can keep it.
I think so. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was the idea, that I wanted to crowdsource people's interest by using the thumbs up. But you know what? I can open it for you at your convenience. All right, let's go to the next one. Innovator path, same exercise. What do you see the innovator path that's leading to innovations, expanding the application and use of KGs, including, needing, solving? It's really a brainstorm. Anything is good for the innovative learner. Oh, I don't know why you're not anonymous, Francois, I'm sorry. Oh, because you put your name in, okay. To be fair, I'm not gonna weigh yours heavier than anybody else.
I'll remove mine.
Well, let's all put Francois in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's better, that's better. That's better. Oh, that's funny. I might actually use that as an icebreaker in another workshop. Everybody. Oh, yes. You can withdraw, but I didn't tell you that because I wanted to see everybody that thumbed up. It can get into a pretty crazy. I have 20 people in there. That's good. Am I running late by any chance? Do you know?
When do you expect?
15 minutes or something.
I have 15 minutes. Okay, cool. This says 20, but it's, that's fine. Thank you. What do you think would make an innovative expansion of using?
Can we use this input?
We have 3 more of these. Thumbs seem to be pretty busy. How about if I get a show of hands, if it's okay for me to move on to the next one? Yeah, okay. Got that one. And now I'm gonna bring up the strategist path. That one is about the ability of making strategic decisions using KGs. So I mean, plenty of technical people can be strategists, right? Especially if they're technologists and they have to put together the strategy for the organization. But think also of the people that you work with that are not technologists or not scientists. What are the things that would make them better decision makers and strategic planners? Or what do you think should be in the strategy path? I actually would not be surprised if we didn't know exactly, right? But try to think past the everyday. If you had an ideal, how would you have somebody say, absolutely, I want knowledge graphs in my strategy? There's two ways in which I plan to use this data, and that is certainly to form learning objectives and guide curation, but also to create metrics for program impact. That's a little harder to do, but we only have 12 people on, maybe because they're growing tired of these, but personally, when I have to do these as an attendee or participant, I will eventually just end up voting up. I'll be like, okay, I like that one. I'll stop typing. So at least vote. Okay. Let's leave it up for another minute since this one is a little harder. And the next two will also be a little different, except for champion. I hope I still have my champion waters to be able to add to it. Oh, I see 21 people. Okay, wonderful. Not that I was guilting you to get on or anything. I really appreciate that you're all putting your thought process in this. It is invaluable for an education consultant to know what the learners are looking for and what you bring to the experience yourselves. Are we ready to turn this one off and go to the next one? All right, so I'm going to turn that one off and I'm going to do visionary. And that one is path leads to outstanding problem solving using KGs. I know that you mentioned it's kind of like close to champion. My experience of champions, especially when I've driven like, I'm going to do my mic drop. I once achieved 90% adoption on a population of users that were attorneys over 100 on the technology that we were implementing. It took a lot of work and it took a lot of time. And I think of that as championing, right? Like making sure that the adoption and adaptation happens, the change management with it. And I think that that's different from visionary because visionary is the person that sees the problem and wants to be able to solve it and solve it with KGs in a specific case.
In that same vein, how does the visionary and the strategist differ to you?
To me, the strategist has a responsibility around strategic planning and the direction of the organization that strategic plan is guiding. The visionary can really be any leader in the organization. They may not have to have the responsibility of strategic planning and strategic decision making. Does that make sense?
Sure.
To me, a visionary is anybody that can sell an idea, sees a problem and can sell it. And frankly, they could be at any level of the organization. Most often, they're in an authoritative role and higher ranks, but and then, is everybody ready to go to the next one? So we can just leave open questions? Okay. Thank you for participating on that one. And the last one is the champion. Oh, wrong button. Which is the path that leads to understanding the impact of KGs for the public. I put societal in there, but now I'm realizing it's any kind of impact that's outside your area of influence, for the lack of a better term.
Does it differ from what Dean you were saying as champion? It seems to.
Sorry?
When you were talking about the importance of the champion, it does. I don't relate to. I think it's different. Like what?
Well, it's different, but okay.
Yeah, this description of champion.
This description changes. I think that the description that was in there was meant to be, it's a non-technical person. It's a person that's interested in solving something outside of knowledge graphs, but knowledge graphs can solve it. But it is that I was thinking more of what you were describing. It's the champion that makes it happen in the organization or the client or the sector. But they need to understand the impact, because that's what champions are about. Champions are about believing and wanting to fight the fight for something that's important.
That's why champion and visionary are very,
They're very close. I've worked with many champions that have been voluntold that they need to work the project, but they believe in the project and it is to their best interest to be a champion for the project. So I want to treat them as a champion, even though they might have not been the visionary. The visionary may have actually delegated that to a different department or a different role or a different person. Especially in global organizations, usually it starts in a particular region or department. Federal agencies, for sure. You don't always start at the top level. That's rare. If you can, that's great. But usually you start with a particular problem. I worked with NASA on a project for a year. And I was a federal employee for 5. So you would say in my career, I jumped around a lot, but it wasn't. I just wanted to experience it all. I wanted to be in every sector. I wanted to be in every type of business. All right, so I think we have 11 minutes left. I'm gonna close this one and just go ahead and leave it open to questions. I really have appreciated your participation, your thoughts, my inadequacies. And yeah, go ahead. And do we have?
Folks who are remote.
I was gonna say, are remote working or not? Yes. Okay, do you mind if I do remote first? Okay, go ahead.
Kind of comment on it too. I just wanted to say that the problem that Veronika is describing, we are experiencing all the companies. We also have some architects. Oh, I'm sorry.
Cut that over.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that the problem that Veronika is describing, we're experiencing in all the companies. We also have some data architects and data engineers who do not want to go into knowledge graphs because they do not know how. So if we could reduce the resistance with learning, it would be great. They could really take knowledge graphs far if they upskill themselves to knowledge graphs. That was understood. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's sort of a question about the whole endeavor. Kogan actually contacted me by email a while back and said, what are some resources you might think about? So, well, the EDM Council has a whole training that they do through e-learning curve, but of course they charge for that. It's one of their products. And I'm thinking about the curation model. You've got lots of free material out there, but you have a lot of proprietary material. You've got the stuff that Semantic Web Company does that they will open up for free for a while and so on. There's this weird blended model. How do we put together the best possible program when some of the things we're curating are not free to use? And what do we have in mind there? So we get an answer. Okay, great.
The answer. I mean, maybe a follow-up. No, yeah, it's a great comment. Actually, we invited vendors to join here today because they have this problem of, trying to sell to companies, going there, doing a pilot, and then no one knows about the technology, so it's harder to adopt because they need to train people, etc. So they come up with all this material, and this is also a reason for doing this, right? Like, and so we invited vendors. Are there any representative of graph database platform vendors? Right, no, I'm also saying Peter from MetaFacts and maybe others. Yeah.
It's like the EDM Council is almost a competing organization. Sorry. But things like the EDM Council, while we're at the EKGF and that, which is now part of the OMG, Ben and I were talking when you're talking about the co-branding. Said, hey, maybe the EDM Council like the co-brand. Or maybe the EDM Council would like to do this themselves and brand, and there's almost like a competition there. I'd be quite happy to make the introductions and encourage the council to co-brand. I think it would actually be better for the community if we were to co-brand rather than competitively brand. And that might be an answer to the question. It's like, yeah, we've got our paid material here. Let's do a free version of that co-branded, and then hey, if you want to do the deep dive, then you can pay us. Yeah, there's a number of creative models there, but I don't.
Yeah, I haven't been able to
work on them.
models, but it's something that we've talked about.
All right, well, maybe this is a me problem. I don't even know. Okay, so one thing that comes up is, I work for a large company and you work for the federal government. Oftentimes training is going to be, for lack of a better word, regulated, right? Or managed internally within an LMS. So for example, where I work, it's like, okay, for all these people, you guys have to do 30 hours of training a year. These are the approved technologies. So now we have something where there's like a secondary system where they go outside of the system to get training. I need them to get trained up on knowledge graphs, but because it's external to our learning system, it doesn't really do anything for us. So, I mean, is there a way to think about how, and maybe because we're a company, we pay for it, we say, okay, you guys create the content, we license it and bring it internal to our system so we can track it and appropriately, give people their pat on the back for doing their training, right? Because that's a huge issue. Like, I don't think that, I would love this because I don't want to say this, but like we're almost competing. You're like, oh, I'm here to find knowledge graph people, and I was like, oh, I'm looking for faculty that have knowledge graph students. But we're all kind of at this place now where it's like, well, there's the demand, and we need the people. A lot of it's upskilling internally. Good idea, but take it to like that last part where it kind of works with your systems.
So portable learning is possible. It's called SCORM compliant. It's just a licensing issue that you need to license the content, just like copyrights and whatever. And the product I used for the prototype actually does export it to SCORM so that it can be put in another LMS.
So I work for a large graph database vendor, and we could certainly use this stuff because our customers are constantly asking for, how do I learn about this stuff? I mean, this is still nascent market. But my comment is about the co-branding. I would very strongly advise against technology vendors co-branding this. I mean, I would accept money from them, but leave it in the fine print that you got money from them. Co-branding will just lead to, oh, this is their training.
So I've been giving that some thought and have experienced that myself when I was a product vendor and as a learner and MIS person and all that stuff. And so I would like to create a specific segment of the learning that can be co-branded. If you remember the prototype, at the very end, there were resources that people could grab on the way out of the headquarters in the story. That could be co-branded material. And so that can be strategic decisioning for the vendor, but it's separate from the learning. It's actually just additional resources. This is not a discussion that we've had, but I do realize that I'm providing a service to KGC.
I think it's a bad idea.
Altogether, even if it's just optional resources. Okay.
This is something that's supposed to be credible And I think that
I think we might be at time, I don't know. Can we talk? Yeah.
Just real quick.
Well, I mean,
one way we've resolved that issue before would be to do co-branding with publishers that are recognized. So like going to like a Manning or an O'Reilly or somebody who's deep in the tech space, but has that kind of reputation for companies. And then you can resolve if this is not necessarily centric to one vendor.
that's a good idea.
Did not know that.
Yeah, the media council, stuff like that, agencies like that are not vendors.
I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much for staying extra.